Alrighty folks, it is about that time. As of recording this video, Chapter 7 has been out now for several days, and I've gathered all my thoughts into this video, and I'm going to let you guys know whether I think Chapter 7 sucks, or do I think we've got a great season on our hands. Before we get this video started, please do keep in mind that everything I'm about to say is subject to change. This season is still very, very fresh. I literally see the developers on Twitter taking in all of our constructive criticism, so I could be recording something right now and say I don't like it, and then in 3 days they make a great update, and then all of a sudden something that's in the bad category of this video now becomes a good thing. Keep that in the back of your mind. These are still my very early first thoughts, but with that all being said, let's get right into this one. Alright, so we are going to start with the good things, and then we will move into the miscellaneous things, and then we'll move into the bad things. So to start off my good category here, I'm absolutely going to go with the map. The map is probably the best thing about Chapter 7 Season 1 so far. I think they truly did nail it with this map. It has so much color and personality, right? Every single location, right? Locations like Wonkyland probably have more personality and life to it than literally any location on the entirety of the Chapter 6 map, right? I played every single season in Chapter 6, and I don't think there is a location that had more personality to it than Wonkyland does in Chapter 7. It's not like, you know, in Chapter 6 Season 4, for example, where you've got just a bunch of military bases being added to the map. Every single location is uniquely themed, has something unique about it. You can go to the Vegas Strip, you can go to Area 51, you can go to a bunch of tree houses. And somehow these locations, while feeling unique, somehow feel familiar, right? Like I feel like I've seen these locations somewhere. The pure just diversity, creativity, everything about this map is a huge W. And not to mention, the map is considerably smaller than the Chapter 6 map, which is another huge W. My only complaint would be the middle of the map is kind of a ghost town. That is designed on purpose, right? Because you can't even land at the middle of the map because of the tsunami and the surfing, which I will talk about later in this video. So all the locations are kind of on the outskirts. So if you rotate to the middle of the map, nothing's really going on there, which is kind of uncharted territory. We've never really seen that in a Fortnite season before. We've also got to talk about the loophole, right? Because the loophole, in my opinion, is very balanced in the sense that nothing really seems overpowered, and on the other spectrum, nothing really seems horrible. Sure, yeah, you have meta weapons like the Deadeye AR and the Iron Pump Shotgun, but I think every weapon this season is usable, and it can fry in the right circumstances. Like, if this sounds familiar, this is exactly what I said about the Simpsons season. That loophole was incredibly balanced, and I think the same here. Like, yes, of course, the Deadeye AR is better than the Enforcer, but it's not like the Enforcer is a bad choice this season. With that being said, if we're talking about bad weapons, yeah, that sniper has got to be buffed. The Vengeful Sniper Rifle, not even one-shot headshotting in the legendary version, is an atrocity. That is terrible. The sniper is the only weapon that I look at in the loophole right now, and I'm like, yeah, this thing's got to be buffed, right? You've either got to make it at least one-shot headshot in those high rarities, or you've got to decrease the bolt action time, right? So make it so that you can fire shots one after another quicker, because just nothing about this sniper is hitting different right now. In other words, what I'm kind of trying to say is there's no like cheese way to win a gunfight. And I'm gonna say, think again back to Chapter 6 Season 4 launch. That was the last, you know, full Fortnite season we had that wasn't a collaboration, obviously. We had shockwave grenade launchers, we had double pump wrecker revolvers, we had two of the best medallions in Fortnite history. You had the broken swarm strike before it got nerfed, you had the lead spitter in the meta. I mean, this was all on launch, and then you look to this loophole, there's just no like cheese way to win the game. It feels like genuinely the better player wins the gunfight. And in terms of competitive integrity, I mean, yeah, that's a great thing. In terms of the fun factor, I'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. I also do think, surprisingly, that mobility is in a good spot right now. Mobility is always in kind of a weird conversation for Fortnite seasons. It feels like you look back at Chapter 6 Season 3 and they totally overdo it. You've got like 6 mobility items in the game, or there's certain seasons where, you know, you've just got shockwave grenades and yeah, that's really it. Speaking of mobility, I also completely forgot to mention the map section, like all the ways to traverse around the map. Like you've got the air balloons. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. I forgot to mention it. Love that new feature. But anyways, back to the mobility items, right? You've got your mid-fight mobility. Those are going to be, you know, the shockwave grenades and the katana. And then you got your out-of-fight rotation mobility, which is going to be the wingsuit. So I think mobility is actually in a perfectly fine spot. Like, I don't think we need more mobility items right now. You've got 3 in the game that all 3 fit a unique role. I'm seeing some people saying to buff the wingsuit. Honestly, I think there's just a little bit of a skill gap with the wingsuit. I'm starting to see it being used in competitive more and more, there and people are just flying around the wingsuit. People are finding out new wingsuit tech. Maybe you could make the delay between when you actually press the trigger and when you actually lift off a little bit quicker, but really, I don't think you want to touch anything other than that. I think mobility is in a good spot right now. And kind of tying off that, I don't know if it's just you guys, but I feel like the map has less cars, right? Don't quote me on that. I haven't seen any numbers. It just feels like that from playing. There are plenty of times I'm in a location and like I'm looking for a car to rotate around the map and I cannot find a car. I don't know if that's how you guys have been experiencing it or if that actually is the case and that is an intentional decision by Epic. I think vehicles in Fortnite are good in moderation, and I think sometimes you look back to like Chapter 5, they were a little bit overdone. Everybody, especially in Zero Build, was in cars. For me, at least, that has not been a problem in Chapter 7, so that's a good thing. You've also got no spammy melee item, right? At least for now. It feels like spammy melee items have been a problem in the entirety of Chapter 6. I mean, besides the Simpsons season and maybe Chapter 6 Season 4, I mean, you had some spammy melee items come in the Fortnitemares event update, but in Chapter 6 Season 3, you had Storm Beast pom-poms. In Chapter 6 Season 2, you had the kneecapper, and in Chapter 6 Season 1, you had the Typhoon Blade, right? So no spammy melee item for now, right? Of course, you've got the katana, but the katana has not been used for melee at all. I have not died to this thing once the entire season so far. It is not really that good. It is perfectly fine. I am absolutely okay with the melee items not being a factor in the game right now. It's another green check mark for me for this season. I also do really like the new creative ways that they are introducing to obtain mythics. If you guys don't know this, there are plenty of mythic items that don't drop from bosses that can be found around the map through like mini Easter eggs. Reese Hub actually made a really good short about this, and I commented on it. I'm like, I did not even know these existed, and it really kind of reminds me of like these old Chapter 1 days where there were Easter eggs like littered all around the map. There's like a waterfall on the map that if you go there between a certain hour of the day in the game, you can get lucky and it can drop like a mythic tac pistol. There's also a mythic enforcer AR, I believe, and a mythic iron pump shotgun. I have not found those in game, and that's because people don't know how to obtain them yet, but I'm fine with them introducing creative ways to obtain these mythic items besides just killing bosses, because not everybody wants to deal with, you know, trying to kill a boss, having to fend off everybody at a location, you know, all the attention it brings. Not everyone wants to do that, and I think as long as people know that you can obtain these mythics, I think it's perfectly fine to do it this way. And the final thing I want to talk about here very, very quickly is ADS while jumping. Did you guys know that you can aim down sights while jumping this season? Because I certainly did not until like the third day this season was out. But yes, you can do it, and this isn't like a crazy great thing, but it does feel like a really good just quality of life change. Like I feel like this should have happened like 3 years ago. It's not like it's a crazy change. It's not something that's going to be like, you know, it's going to help you win every single gunfight, but it will create a little bit more of a skill gap. It's going to be a different way to, you know, approach a gunfight and approach those shotgun fights. And yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing, so I'm going to put it in the good thing in this category. I just didn't even know it existed. Apparently it was in the patch notes, but I haven't really read patch notes anymore. I just go and watch Evolve Jake's videos, so go check him out, of course. That guy is literally like human patch notes, but yeah, ADS while jumping, sure, that's a good thing, and that's about all that I've got for this season for like the really solid things. Before we get into the bad things of this season, I want to just touch on some miscellaneous things that didn't really fit in either category. All right, so the first thing in the miscellaneous category is the self-revive. I don't really know what I think about the self-revive. In solos, as expected, it's kind of useless. It really only works in solos if you get, let's say, sniped from 200 meters away, or, you know, you get picked by a scoped AR from 150 meters away where the person can't come over to finish you. Then yes, of course, a self-revive is going to be good. I thought it would be more useful in the team-based game modes because, you know, let's say you get killed, you can just crawl behind a wall and then your teammates can, you know, come fend them off while you self-revive, but it hasn't really played out that way. Like, I just think anytime I get knocked, 9 out of 10 times get thirsted right after. So yeah, I don't know. The self-revive to me has just kind of felt like a non-factor. I thought it would be a lot stronger than it has been, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't really been a factor. The drivable reboot vans are also going to be in the miscellaneous category. Again, I don't really know what to think about it. I mean, on one hand, I think it's good, giving more opportunities for players to, you know, get back into the game, get fighting. I know they are testing out a gulag mechanic, like if you play Warzone, you know what that is. That will be coming to Fortnite at some point. I think it's good that like not every single reboot van is drivable. Some of them are like, you know, booted in place and then some are drivable. I think you are at a big advantage if, you know, you are able to strategically drive the reboot van, you know, right next to where you're going to have a fight. I like how you can just throw people in the back seat and revive them, but I don't think it's like a complete game changer. Like, oh God, your squad is just totally done if you don't have a drivable reboot van with you. I also just don't know that there's enough loot on this map. Let me know in the comments comment section down below if you agree with this, but I feel like the chests are just so few and far between at these locations. I'm telling you, I dropped at Sus Studios, and I swear to God, I looted 5 chests in the entire location. I don't know if like the rest of the community has felt that way, which is why I'm leaving it in the miscellaneous category and not in the bad category. But come on, like let's just add a couple more chests here, all right? There's no need to gatekeep the chests. Going along with that, yeah, does AR ammo exist this season? Again, I don't know where the community stands on this, which is why I'm putting it in the miscellaneous category. I feel like I'm always out of assault rifle ammo, and anybody that I kill does not have any. I don't know if that's just because like everybody is spamming the scoped AR and like people just don't have medium bullets anymore. Every other ammo type this season feels absolutely fine, but when it comes to the medium bullets, I just always feel like I'm in a deficit of them, and it's such a weird thing because I've never felt that way in any Fortnite season for a singular ammo type. But for this season, I mean, that's the case. I mean, they've got to buff the spawn rate of assault rifle ammo, I think personally. And for the final thing I want to talk about in the miscellaneous category, let's talk about the Arc Lightning Gun. This is one of the brand new guns never before seen in this season, and it's better than I thought, but I'm not really sure why the electricity doesn't disable cars. I feel like that was an absolute lock to happen. Like if you told me this gun was getting added before the season, I'd be like, yeah, of course it's going to disable cars. It'll be a counter to cars. And in previous seasons, Fortnite have done a pretty good job about finding counters to cars and making it so that people can't just sit in cars all game. You don't really have that this season. I thought the Arc Lightning Gun would be that, but I feel like a quick change to this weapon, just make the electricity temporarily disable the cars like an EMP grenade does. To me, that just seems like a no-brainer change that should be there. And that's all I've got for the miscellaneous section. Let's get into the part of the video that you guys probably have been waiting for. Let's go and talk about the bad things. So for the bad things, first up, you guys all knew it was going to be here. Let's talk about the tsunami. And I say you guys all knew it was going to be here, but that's not necessarily the truth because there have been some people that have expressed a really keen interest in the tsunami and the surfboard mechanic at the beginning of the game. Personally, I do not like it, and I don't want to rip into it too much because it is a temporary thing. The bus will be back and mixed in with the tsunami in just a couple of weeks, but I just personally and selfishly don't like not being able to choose where I want to drop. Yeah, again, personally, selfishly, when I'm trying to make a video of ranking every single named location and I need to get gameplay at a very specific location that I literally cannot drop at in like 5 games in a row, that is incredibly annoying. But anyways, that's besides the point. I will say it does feel like it helps with pacing. Absolutely. There are very few times where I feel like I drop somewhere and there's absolutely nobody there, right? Like there's always somebody at a location. And that's because what the tsunami does is it forces people to basically evenly distribute themselves across the map, which helps with the mid-game, right? In previous seasons, you'd have 50 people land at the 4 top locations in the middle of the map, and then the other 50 would be split amongst the other, 10 locations. So a ton of people would get wiped out at spawn. Nobody would land in the outskirts, and then there's a super boring, like 8 to 10 minute period where you would legit find nobody. That does not happen in Chapter 7. So I think the tsunami is good in that sense, but alternatively, people just want to get attached to locations. They want to drop where they want. It's difficult to learn how to loot a specific POI in all the buildings and, create rotations and everything when you can queue into a game and it is legit physically impossible to land at that location where you want. I do think the tsunami does have good aspects, but let's be honest, I think players will be very happy once the bus comes back. I also want to quickly touch on red dot sight versus non-red dot sight ARs because if there's any weapon that needs to be talked about the most this season, it is the Deadeye assault rifle. It is the red dot scope assault rifle that everybody is using. Really, nobody's touching the Enforcer. And like I said earlier, the Enforcer is not a bad assault rifle right now. It just cannot compete against red dot sight ARs. And I have made this point clear every single season. I think you need to do what Chapter 6 Season 3 did, where you have to have all bloom-based assault rifles or you need to have all scoped assault rifles. I truly don't think you can have 2 in the meta. Again, I'm going to reference Chapter 6 Season 4. You had at the beginning of that season no scoped ARs. You really had the Oxer rifle and the Fury assault rifle. And that was perfectly fine. But then as soon as the MK7 and the Hollow Twister got added, nobody used those and you were stuck with the Hollow Twister again. I think there's a very simple fix to this. I think you just put a P2X optic on the Enforcer. I think if you do that, the Enforcer becomes incredibly competitive, and now you have 2 assault rifles where you could pick either and do very, very well. It's not like you can't do that right now with the Enforcer. It's just so much easier to use the Deadeye AR that 9 out of 10 times you're going to come across somebody in this game right now, and they will be running that red dot sight AR. So yeah, I don't really like them having one red dot sight AR and one not red dot sight AR. They've got to pick one or the other, in my opinion. Another thing I wanted to talk about is there's not many fun items in the loophole right now. Everything is very grounded. There's not like a ton of like oomph in this loophole, if you know what I'm saying. And what I mean by that is like none of the new mythics change how the base weapons function. We don't have any exotics in the game right now, which in my opinion is a huge bummer. They've absolutely nailed exotics the last couple seasons. So while yes, the loophole is absolutely competitively balanced, it has a great level of competitive integrity in the game, but I would also argue that the loophole is just kind of boring. We only have like 10 weapons in the game right now, almost all of which are reused weapon models besides like one or two of them. So I'm kind of interested to see what they do moving forward. I know this is like a very like pubs oriented take by me. I'm not saying that we need absolutely something broken, right? Like the kneecapper or the swarm strike in the game. We absolutely do not need those, but I think some more unique weapons would go a long way, and I think they have that planned for the rest of this season. So again, very early thoughts from me. Let's also talk about the mid-game objectives because yeah, I think they've taken a step back here. You know, you've got the rift anomalies, which I think are a decent concept, but remember, they don't happen every game. It's just kind of by chance. You've also got the job boards, right, which are good, but they almost always only reward you with gold, which, you know, you can't even carry with you between games anymore. And honestly, the only like thing that's really worth saving up gold for in a game is probably this self-revive, which in and of itself only has good value in the team game modes, it feels like. And again, I feel like that value isn't crazy high. We're going back to chapter 6 season 4 again, right? When you had a vault that spawned with an exotic and a ton of loot every single game, it actually gave you something to do in that mid game besides just hunt down people. It was genuinely worth it to go hunt down those vaults. This season, I just don't really think we have that. We have no hero rank, we have no Oxar rank system. I don't know, it can't just be me that thinks this, right? Like I wish we had some more things to do. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comment section down below, because yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs around the map, but I want something a little bit more of a bigger deal that happens, you know, mid-game, for example. And kind of going hand in hand with this is the bosses. So firstly, the boss spawns are completely random, just like how they were on the Simpsons season, and I do not like this. I have been pretty vocal about this. So not only can you not plan where you want to drop, but now you could drop somewhere and then all of a sudden the boss could just be there, which might not be what you want. It also makes it very difficult to hunt down a specific boss if that is what you want to do. And on top of this, becoming the boss just isn't really worth it, right? Like it's really not. To be exposed on the map live time, step by step, your health bar showing to everybody around you, a bigger hitbox, and changes your skin, and permanently lose an inventory slot for what, right? Like 50 extra HP and a special ability. One of those which is just spawning henchmen next to you, right? Like to me, that just does not do it for me. I will say this is a mechanic that I would rather have be underpowered than be like crazy overpowered and just have the bosses just stomp everybody around the map. But I just genuinely do not think it is worth it to become a boss right now, at least until they tune it. I think a big first step would be just removing the public health bar, or make it so it was like medallions where you'd have a general idea of where somebody was and you couldn't track them legit step by step. So those are my thoughts for this video. Do I think this season sucks? Absolutely not. But does it need work? Yes, absolutely it does. This season is not perfect by any means, but it does have a really great foundation, and with a couple of solid updates, I think we really could be looking at one of the best introductions to a chapter in Fortnite history. I really do think this season has that potential. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Thank you for all your support on the Chapter 7 content so far on the channel. It is absolutely felt by me. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace.